unless they were not supposed to vote. But if they didn't come out to vote, if they came out just to be part of,
should they be there
to
if
be
you don't
part
have
of
a
crowd of things happening? Maybe they accompany some people, but it's something to look out for.
All right, guys, this is the presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Tinubu. This, we understand, is in Ikeja area of Lagos, around his polling unit. As you can see him there with his daughter flanked on the right, and his wife, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, on his left. And of course, he's being guarded. I mean, I can imagine the kind of situation you saw there in Adamawa playing out in the Ikeja area of Lagos. This is a very popular area in Ikeja area. I can almost describe this area, know it very well. I've covered this particular area before. This is just in between. This is along Iyala Street, just beside ShopRite area of Ikeja, just a street before his polling unit. And usually, whenever Bola Tinubu goes there to vote, it's always a very, very tough scenario meandering through that process. Let's listen to some of the sounds that could come out from that area. So, and I can imagine the kind of security that would be in that area, just compared to what you saw, also similar rather to what you saw in Yola.
Yes, already. So yeah, move. Step out. Be present. Let's step out. Step up. Let's step out.
It's always, they've been expecting. I can bet with you that politicians and politicians have been waiting here all day, just at this moment, to catch a sight of this man. This kind of a frenzy. And you can make a comparison. I have a feeling maybe the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, did not vote this time around in Jada. I get a feeling that he moved his polling unit to Yola. I mean, not quite sure, but we need to find out from our correspondent who covered him there.
Yeah,
but I mean, there were also contemplation whether or not Bola Tinubu was also going to move to Bodilon, where his house is, or whether he's going to vote. But we know for sure that this is Ikeja, where he's voting, and pretty much, seeing a cameraman try to meander through the crowd.
Just imagine the crowd.
No, I mean, this is a world press coverage that usually happens in this
for this kind of scenarios. So the thing is, you cannot vote where your polling unit, where you're not registered.
Just the question you asked me, like you see the NSBC officials, they are preventing certain people from moving further. Now we're approaching the polling unit. They're trying to prevent those, I don't know what to call them, hangers on security, and limit the number of people coming into the polling unit with him, which is the right thing, really.
And then you have to also enforce that open secret system, such that you don't show.
Mr. Osaze,
yes, please.
Again, this kind of scenarios, we've seen this in Yola, and we're seeing this in Lagos, and who knows where we'll see it again. And at what point in the course of amending our laws and implement, we don't have a dearth of laws, we have a dearth of implementation. At what point
we'll be amending our minds now.
At what point do we get to where we'll see this kind of the guidelines and the laws being pushed into effect, so to speak? At what point do you think that will happen?
I think the bigger question is, as you have already acknowledged, that as it were, there are enough laws, there are enough regulations, and your images also come from abroad, where you see prime ministers going to vote or presidents going to vote, and it's just a simple, straightforward exercise. I think SNY has already nailed it in a good way, in an eloquent way.
Okay, so see this now. I'm sure he's even having a challenge getting to where he would even begin to the process of voting himself. I mean, see the crowd.
Absolutely, but look at the crowd. Look at the composition of that crowd. You have the media, and the ones on the forefront,
the
media
would be
the security.
It's expected that the media will be there.
And it's also expected that security people will be there.
Okay.
And others, as Shehu has already said, there are lots of people who are seeing him for the first time in years.
They've moved these polling units forward. This polling unit is now almost half a kilometer away from where it used to be. Now, this is at the tail end of the street. Anybody who is very familiar with this area, this is in front of the Place restaurant, just opposite ShopRite in the Ikeja area. And the polling unit where he voted the last time was down the street, just half a kilometer to this very place.
It may be
delineation.
It may be units. Don't forget the 56,000.
Yes, some people got notification too that their unit had been split and then moved to a similar location.
Yes.
So this probably might be one of those scenarios where, in fact, someone is asking me, are you sure it's not fake news? But thankfully, Mr. Koye was here that morning.
So skeptical.
He says, well, yes. I got a text myself because I'm a registered voter too. So
when was the last time you voted, Chamberlain? I mean, that's
another story for another time.
so that you not be charged for derivation of your civic duty. Now, the thing here is, so now we are back to the initial picture that we saw in Yola.
Correct.
It's almost an impossible task of getting this crowd off the faces of these guys.
Isn't he going to be worried that they will show his ballot paper?
Well, so that's exactly
They're probably happy to do that, actually.
Oh, well,
there you
go.
No, our first sense of entitlement, our big man syndrome. Yesterday, we were going to INEC offices, and we got to some places, and just because of how we appeared in the place, the security men opened the gates, and we just went in, and I was shocked. I said, there was no question of wind down.
Who are you?
Who are you? What are you going to? Until we got to the third place, where the security men knew their job. and they came out and said, hey, please wind down. What do you want? Who are you? We introduced ourselves, and they let us go. And I came down and I went to meet them. I said, this is what it should be. So the first challenge we have is that we have a ritual of voter education. I call it ritual of voter education and not civic education. So after this election, nobody talks about how people should behave. So the curriculum of the child who is already in school should be talking about, if you are 18, you now need to vote. This is the way you should vote. This is how you should vote.
And, you know, we had consequences of this now, because remember the bombing for the police headquarters not long ago?
Yes.
It was a brand new car, followed the IGP's convoy, they threw the floodgates open, and then bang, that went on. Go ahead. Yeah, you wanted to make
I was going to say,
on
the
this?
candidates trying to push back or demonstrate
Okay.
that people should give him some space, and that's the proper thing to do.
I have, each time I have a certain kit that I use for every voting. I don't wear them every day. I've had to change my election duty shoes almost at every election. So in this kind of scenario, people will step on your leg. It's almost an impossible task. And sometimes I just pity some of these guys, because I mean, if you're not there, you cannot understand. You cannot disperse them. It's almost difficult to do that. A lot of the times, 3 police officers placed in these polling units cannot do the job. And it's just, I mean, it's unbelievable sometimes the kind of things that you see. Look at the voting cubicle. It has been collapsed. Look at it.
It has closed.